All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, December 18th, 2015, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it. It was another long one. It is 35 degrees and very cloudy here in upstate New York. They're predicting some lake effect snow in New York State. Probably not here, but down in the southern tier of New York, they definitely will probably get some. They're saying about a foot. And then off to the east of Lake Ontario and what they call the Tug Hill Plateau, which is kind of north of Syracuse and probably west of the Adirondack Mountains, but they're supposed to get 1 to 2 feet. So I'm glad it's not me. Just a few sprinkles here. So this weekend should be fun. Let's see. I want to thank a few people. Mr. Cracker in chat, Cracker gave us some holiday cheer for UCY. So I want to thank you for that, Cracker. I also want to thank the 2 subscribers that I got on my Before the First Cup Facebook page. You've taken me from 97 subscribers to 99, so I need 1 more within the next week and a half to get to 100 before 2016 rolls over. That's my goal. Not very lofty, but I just need 1 more. So somebody help me out and make me feel good. Good way to start off 2016. All right, so where do we leave off on Wednesday? Yesterday, we had the treat of having Mr. Brandon Turbeville on with us to get us caught up, not only with all of the mayhem going on in the Middle East. I got to say, after a conversation with Brandon, being able to ask questions, I always feel like I have a much better grasp on what's going on. But we also talked about the circus of the GOP debate, and honestly, like, there is nobody really that I think is going to help any situation. Not that there ever would be. I mean, selections don't really change anything. It's just a new puppet, but it's become so amazingly apparent when you look at it now. I mean, war light, complete Armageddon, or what did he say? Like thermal nuclear destruction. I mean, that's about all we have here. But where do we leave off on Wednesday? And I think we're going to kind of take a little jump off of here and continue on. We titled the show Wednesday, Surveillance, Behavioral Patterns, AI Algorithms, and the Internet of Things. And we looked at some really interesting stuff in regards to how DARPA especially, but I mean, there's so many other agencies now that are involved in AI. We even saw the $1 billion investment by Toyota. All these tech titans now jumping on board as well, dumping billions of dollars into AI research. And then, of course, we have Elon Musk standing there going, well, yeah, we should still have AI, but we should make sure that we put some controls on it. And I mean, that's a baby step, like I said, but that doesn't fix it all. Now, the one thing, though, that we see that's transpiring out of all this artificial intelligence is the takeover of the Internet of Things, right? That's kind of where the dystopian future leads, is there's going to be a Skynet, probably going to have the face of Kurzweil in it, in the big room of lights going, whoa, whoa, whoa. As it's breathing. I don't know, this stuff just scares me so bad, but like, I'm seeing a lot, and I'm going to say a lot of stuff right now that is playing like this flip upside down on its head psyop on us in regards to news stories coming out of mainstream media. Now, few things have happened over the last year or so, few years actually. The NDAA of 2013, there was language in there that made using propaganda on the American public, quote unquote, legal. And the State Department's been doing it for years outside of this country, but it now gave them carte blanche to take what we hear and what we see and twist it. And like I said, they've been doing it forever. But now there are no legalities. It could be freely admitted. I mean, I think it was admitted at some point out there. But nobody cares because we've been sucked into this alter reality, right? We've talked a lot about this, how being pulled into the machine, and now, first it was the TV and the video games, now our mobile devices, and now we're starting to talk about implantables and augmentation. It's very easy for them to mess with our reality. And as we saw the other day, where they're reaching that turning point of not being able to tell a simulation from reality, that's where we run into some big problems. Now we have these VR goggles, and it's beyond VR goggles. It's beyond VR goggles. Just wait, guys, because in the future, very near future, there's going to be some pretty incredible things coming if you look at some of these new startups and what they're doing with this VR technology. We looked at one the other day where we had, and we're talking like all different kinds of realms of life where they will be integrated. But there was one story about architects, geographically diverse architects sitting around with their VR goggles with a 3D hologram of the model that they're working on, able to collaboratively see, touch, talk as if they were in the same room and work on the same project. I mean, that's really amazing. There are other projects out there that I've seen that are going to give you like front seat, front row at events. You'll be able to do like a pay-per-view for different sporting events and things. You just wait. Before it was just the kids that were sucked into the video games and the 3D VR, but it's going to be everybody very soon. So as they're sucking us into this alter reality and kind of blending what's real and what's not, and how simulation, and we saw the touchable 3D holograms they had just announced. I think it was out of China and Japan. There was a video the other day, and I don't know if I'm going to play a video because I have way too many stories to go through, but there was a video the other day, maybe we'll look at it on Monday, where this is going to like change everything in regards to virtual reality. Well, then I see the story out of Quartz Magazine, QZ.com. We've done some of their stuff before. It's titled, "The End of Thinking. Most of the information we spread online is quantifiably bullshit." And what struck me about that title is that didn't we see just a few months ago, and this story here in Forbes is from the end of June of 2015, titled "Google's Plan to Incorporate Truthfulness into its Search Rankings." Yes, the Google Truth algorithm. Right, Hillary Clinton brought it up quite a number of years ago now and said how she and the government were losing the information war. And I just saw yesterday, we're seeing all this disinfo propaganda now being spun against any of the proof that the alternative media has been able to put out there and win a few small battles. But I am seeing more and more complete go for the jugular stories, if that was the correct sentence. More and more stories. Yeah, I guess so. That are out there to confuse the masses who maybe have woken up a little bit. They've come across our stories in the search engines. They've read some of our stuff about vaccines or chemtrails or GMOs. And they said, you know what? They got a good point. How come nobody is, labeling GMOs that they're so great? How come, there are questions galore. Why do we now have a mandatory meningitis vaccine in New York State when there's only 4 cases a year? It's not even like, our kids, we ever worry about it. It's not like any of us got the vaccine. Hey, and guess what? I don't know anyone who's ever gotten it either, who's ever gotten sick, who's ever gotten meningitis. But then, hey, we see that there is a story about the guy who sponsored the bill in New York State. It just came out a few days ago. It's now been shown he's taken $425,000 plus some extra dollars, so close to $500,000 from Big Pharma, and then got the bill passed. So it's causing questions in the minds of the sheeple. Well, you know what? We can't have that, because if we have questioning, then it means the whole plan fails, and we can't push our electronic medicine, precision healthcare, mixing mad science gone mad, and food, pharmacy, COP21, Agenda 21, getting rid of all of the healthy herbals and natural remedies because it's all got to be solved with some sort of RNAi switch flipping garbage with nanotech they want to put into you. I mean, they can't have them asking questions. That is the cash cow. So this truth algorithm, let's read about this a little bit. I know we did it way back, but I want to kind of set the stage here because this is 6 months ago. You haven't heard too much about it since then, but you've heard a lot about AI and some of these informational algorithms and behavioral algorithms that they've been utilizing. Google's plan to incorporate truthfulness into its search algorithms. June 30th, 2015. Google ranking always triggers controversy and debate, and every time there is a new Google algorithm up for release, rumors fly thick and fast as to which types of sites may be penalized and which are likely to be rewarded. Now look, this isn't censorship. They are not stifling free expression. They can't be accused of making America less free if it's not the government doing it. But wait, how many connections have we found between especially the DoD, DARPA, Google, tech companies? The collusion is deep and heavy. Okay, so, smoke and mirrors, put the little red ball under the cup and mix it around. But it's still all about censorship. And it's still all about hiding information that needs to get out there. It says website owners sweat and seethe in anticipation of an update that may push their site into oblivion. And yes, it's that easy with the push of a button, Google. Such reactions are not surprising because, as we know, if you don't show up in the first few results on a given search, then you are practically nobody in the online space. And that is very true. Today, the way things rank on Google have a lot to do with factors like your domain authority and social activity. However, everything you find on the internet is not 100% trustworthy. Oh, really? Yes. Bill Clinton, after Fukushima, saying that since there were so many rumors online about Fukushima that needed to be tamped down on, because remember, Japan is one of our most sacred economies that we need to protect. He suggested that we form a ministry of truth for the internet. Well, looks like they must have contracted with Google. Anyway, however, everything you find on the internet is not 100% truthworthy. Oh my goodness. I bet it took a PhD to come up with that one. So how about using your cognitive skills, your ability to research, and figure out what's truthful and what's not? I don't know, not difficult for me. In fact, you can't fully trust even the most popular sites, Forbes says. Well, why is that? Well, that's because search engines never include truth or accuracy as a ranking factor. Oh, good idea. But if everything goes as planned, this may change soon. Well, phew, they're going to save me from myself and the lies and the deceit on the internet. Truth is a new ranking factor. Oh, yes, it does. For the uninitiated, Google's research teams released a report earlier this year proposing a way to rank websites by the veracity of their content instead of their popularity. And this means the more accurate the content, the higher it will appear in the search engines. And if you guys remember back when we first took a look at this Google Truth algorithm and they were developing it back in the beginning, they were talking about using Wikipedia as the back end to fact check. Now, we all know Wikipedia is a double-edged sword because I like Wikipedia that anyone can contribute, but on the other hand, anyone can contribute. So you always have to fact check there as well. But for basic facts like, I don't know, the population of a country or the name of a mountain range or whatever, it's just fine. But if you're going to look at like fine details to win an argument or to fight a case in court, I would not be using Wikipedia, or to do a research paper for that matter. It's a good way to begin digging in, but it's not the end all. Anyway, where did we end up here? Yes, for the uninitiated, blah, blah, blah. Google research team released a report earlier this year proposing ways to rank websites by the veracity of their content instead of their popularity. And this means the more accurate the content, the higher it would appear in search results. So far, the amount of engagement content can drive as a yardstick for its popularity, but think of tabloid websites, poor National Enquirer, whose selling points remain gossip and innuendo. You know, I actually saw something the other day, too, where they're talking about making joke sites like The Onion. I don't know if they were discussing making them take a new domain, like moving them off the .com and making them move to a, like, .joke domain, or if they were just going to somehow label their site, but I don't know how they do that. So maybe they were talking, we'll have to look at that one. Someone remind me. But yeah, they're talking about taking satire. It was .satire or something. Satire sites and moving them somewhere else, or branding them as satire. Because what? Oh, people are too stupid to check sources. I mean, what does this say about society that now they got to be like mommy and daddy on the internet and run a content parental filter to tell me what's true and what isn't? I can't even believe this. And I mean, let's look at this from a big brother perspective. So now while you're filtering my truth, you could be filtering any bullshit. Because, hey, the majority of the people are used to being spoon-fed what they want you to know. That's why this is such a big deal. This really, really should be concerning to everyone. Our free internet is no longer a free internet, but it's going to be done all as a part of collusion. Secretive, like. I hate secrets. I hate shifty people. I hate liars. I mean, this is just all a part of this. So anyway, poor National Enquirer, because think of tabloid websites, for an instance, whose selling point remains gossip and innuendo. Yet many people like to read such content. Now, I mean, they're pretty much putting alternative media into the same group as the National Enquirer. There are hundreds, listen to this, there are hundreds of sites full of propaganda and link baits that hold the top search spots just because they are popular. Clearly, there's a lot of garbage floating around in the sea of online content. And don't worry about it, because we'll take care of you. The new research hints that Google may be on a mission to purge the internet. And we've seen a few big tech insiders lately. I don't remember the dude's name, but he was considered the quote-unquote father of the internet, actually make comments to that fact that if there's anything out there, you better get it now. Because the internet is how we know it is about to change, and I would second that opinion vehemently. So what does this mean for the website owners and internet users? Well, we'll tell you. It says, let's see how the Google's truth machine would work. Google has a vast repository, the so-called Knowledge Vault, of more than 2 billion facts pulled from the internet, which its IT professionals could use to form the new algorithm. Now, we asked this question the last time we looked at Google's truth algorithm. Who is deciding what is fact and what is not? I mean, yeah, there's things in history that you can say, well, the Titanic sunk. But the history behind how the Titanic sunk and the story about who was behind the Titanic sinking is still up for much debate. There's the quote-unquote official story in the textbooks, and then there's the actual proof. So, you know, like I said, the fact that we have 2 billion facts, whose facts are they and who's deciding what those facts are? Oh, what? Oh, it's Google. Probably goes through some federal vetting. You know, Hillary Clinton's involved. I don't know. But this is all part of the propaganda game. And remember, too, Hillary Clinton was the head of the State Department. So it makes a lot of sense that Billy Clinton talking about needing to tamp down on those internet rumors. And then the NDAA 2013, makes it legal for propaganda in the United States while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And that fell underneath her realm. I would pretty much bet that the Clinton clan has something to do with all this. I'm not going to guarantee it, but I think they probably had something to do with all this. Anyway, so the Knowledge Vault, Google's vast repository, has over 2 billion facts pulled from the internet, which its IT professionals could use to form the new algorithm. It will work by checking websites' pages and content, and then matching it with its database and cross-referencing relevant facts. Wow, I bet it's kind of like Google's matching database that they use for videos on YouTube. A lot like that algorithm. When it finds a content match, then it gets marked. Websites with high volumes of inaccurate or false data, as defined by Google, naturally rank lower in search results. This way, only trustworthy content, as defined by Google, would find its deserved place in the top results. Wah, 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 wah. I mean, really? If there ever was a ministry of truth, we just found it. So now Forbes asked, well, how will this change the internet? Oh, well, goodness. We should expect a lot of good things to come from this new way of judging web pages. Some folks out there, yes, those folks that are just so dangerous, manipulate everything from backlinks to social shares to keyword density to be the first page of the Google search. Yeah, those people are so damn dishonest. But in the future, hopefully, these dark arts from these evil people will vanish as sites are instead screened for truth and accuracy. The pesky internet, it's doing all kinds of things like self-radicalizing teenagers and ISIS and shooters and, oh my God, and those rabid anti-GMO chemtrail tinfoil hat wearing lunatics. Says we live in a time where our purchases, business practices, relationships, and even our education, it's all for the children, depend on our new digital world. Did you hear that? Yes, depend on our new digital world. Therefore, it is important to be able to feel confident in the content that we are reading and that it is trustworthy. And as more and more people do their research online, tools like this, deployed by Google or not, will be massively important. What really kills me is why don't we have some sort of mass organization like the Smithsonian that has lots of artifacts in a big room, lots of big rooms, and lots of books and all kinds of things, and let's let them be in charge of having the online research papers section of the internet. I'd be all for that. We got Google Scholar. That's all of the published papers. Again, I don't want Google involved. It should be some sort of public organization that is tasked with maintaining the history of the United States or the history of the world. Then you guys can do whatever you want there. I want to read about what real people have to write, whether or not it's bullshit. I want to be the one who determines what is bullshit and what is not. What my opinion is over yours. I read it all. And I can W a lunatic or W a smart guy or go, hey, you know what? That's a real interesting way of looking at the problem. But I'm the one who's determining the validity of the content that I read. Anyway, last sentence of this bullshit story. The bullshit story about the truth algorithm. The volume of online content is rising at a monstrous speed, and it is very risky to risk your reputation by taking something you find on the web at face value just because it's popular. Well, you know what? If you're taking something and presenting it at a business meeting only because it was popular and you didn't look into it, then you know what? The egg in your face that you got, you absolutely deserved. You're the type of person that shouldn't be in management. You're the type of person that shouldn't be running anything and giving a presentation because you didn't do your research. All right, so then it follows up. I find this story the other day. So this is a long way to get around to here where I wanted to start. The end of thinking, this is out of Quartz Magazine. Most of the information we spread online is quantifiably bullshit. So now let's start spinning this propaganda campaign to get the world to believe that the truth algorithm is going to be wonderful, because all those websites out there that talk about all this stuff that's shocking, that rattles your little happy cage that you live in, that makes you feel uncomfortable, like those right-winger family members that showed up at Thanksgiving. Yeah, those ones. Now we can guarantee that you never have to see any of that stuff again online with our truth algorithm. All right. So Quartz Magazine jumps on the bandwagon. The end of thinking. It is in his well-known essay on bullshit. And I don't know who this is. Harry Frankfurt defines bullshit as speech that is designed to impress but lacks a direct concern for the truth. Wow, I know a lot of people like that. Under such a definition, a large portion of what we read online today is likely to be bullshit. Some types of bullshit are political in nature, you think, such as the misleading claim that only 16 mass shootings took place under George Bush's tenure, compared to a whopping 162 under Obama. Well, you know which direction this website leans. Such claims are valued for their persuasiveness in making a point, rather for their connection to reality. Other bullshit, such as clickbait, listen to this, like they're both hitting on the same things, both these stories, is motivated by the commercial mandates of the digital age, in which companies are endlessly chasing more page views, likes, followers, subscribers, and customers. Yeah, well, you know, I got to tell you, if there's no growth in people seeing what you put out there, then there's no motivation to even do it, right? That's important. Hey, if you get views on your website, that might allow you to sell a little bit of advertising that pays for your back-ending the website. I mean, they act like people are doing unscrupulous things. Wanting more views and being visible to a larger audience is not being unscrupulous. Still more, but according to him, it's bullshit. Still more bullshit springs from vanity and hunger for attention. Reddit rewards users with karma for popular comments and link contributions, a system that can compel people to share bullshit or create their own. So look, Reddit, I don't go to Reddit because, I don't know, it's pretty boring personally, but it's pretty popular, and they're hitting, something that's pretty popular and well-known on the internet where you can find information is bullshit. But guess what? Twitter! We're going to call out Twitter too because, some candidates are using Twitter maybe. I don't know. Twitter, with its 140 character limit, seems exceptionally conducive to the spread of bullshit, as the brevity of the medium demands vagueness disguised as pith. I mean, could you hear this? Twitter is something that a lot of the activists use. Real-time tweeting is their at events. I'll tell you what's bullshit. This article is like 30 layers of bullshit, and it really stinks. Now, considering that the internet has greatly increased our access to unreliable information, and that bullshit still passes through more traditional channels such as newspapers, magazines, television, radio, face-to-face conversations as well, it seems reasonable to suggest that people today are inundated with more bullshit now than ever before. The internet has ushered in the age of bullshit. I mean, oh my God. Again, somebody who doesn't know how to research properly, somebody who doesn't know how to distinguish between a bullshitter and somebody who's genuine. I mean, have we lost that ability? Is it because we've lost the ability to think logically and deductively to be able to tell what's real from what's not? Because I think that that's the problem. They've blended reality and fiction so well that now people can't distinguish between the two. Well, some of us can, but apparently a lot of people can't. Yet, despite the prevalence of bullshit, it has only sparingly been discussed from an academic perspective. Yes, where they're doing all of this social media interaction research, and they're coming up with their behavioral algorithms, right? I mean, we talked about all that. To begin studying the bullshitty from a psychological perspective, some of my colleagues and I, led by Gordon Penny Cook, undertook a systematic empirical analysis of the reception and detection of a particular type of bullshit, and that's the pseudo-profound. The pseudo-profound bullshit refers to statements that are meant to imply deep meaning, but are actually vacuous. I know a lot of people like that too. Dazzle them with bullshit. With opaque language, one can imply much while saying very little. And I'm going to tell you what's so important about this, and this fact, I really should do a story on it because you haven't seen much of it at all where the dots have been connected with this dude and all the stuff that's going on. But Tom Insel, the former director of the National Institute of Mental Health, has now moved over to Google Life Sciences, right? We've talked about that like 3 times now. And as a matter of fact, I found a story from just a few days ago published, I think it was even in Forbes magazine, by who? Oh, Tom Insel, now working for Google, talking about redefining mental illness and how we're going to do it. See, this psychological psychobabble is setting up a complete psyop beyond anything we've ever known. Nobody knows what's real anymore and what's not. Nobody knows what's truthful anymore or what's not. So now we have the big brother coming down. They're going to set the rules as to what's true and what's not. They're going to filter us out, and we are seen as fringe. And now they're going to redefine mental illness on a spectrum, and then take all these different things about like not believing what you're told. And we'll see that. We go through this in the next article. All these things that make you mentally ill. And then, hey, don't worry about it, because DARPA's got all kinds of new treatments with nanowires and electrical zaps into the brain and pushing buttons, releasing chemicals that'll fix all of those issues. It's a mental illness. Shh. I mean, this is so scary, guys. This is very scary. They literally are taking all of this Project Monarch crap, that CIA-based mind control from history, and they are stepping it up like 10 notches is they got the Brain Project and integrating super soldiers and artificial intelligence and building in these thinking algorithms. I mean, guys, this is beyond any psychopathy that we have ever known. Every minute you need to check. You need to check yourself. Is it real or isn't it? I mean, seriously, anything you read, you need to check it. Anyway, so this guy's talking about his pseudo profound bullshit, and we all know the type. You know, people who typically, I see a lot of like religious icons with their deep, profound meanings about existence. And yeah, it could mean something on one level, but does it really mean something in the physical world? Well, probably not. But it makes you sound smart, and it makes you sound wise, and it makes people kind of start to follow you like a cult if they need something like that and need someone to tell them what to do and what to think and what to say. You know, I don't know. I don't fall for that shit. I am a difficult person to get along with. I will freely admit that, but it's because I don't like to follow other people. I like to come to my own conclusions. And yeah, it's the hard way. I always do it the hard way. But when I get there and I finally come to the end of the road, I know how to do it upside down and sideways, and I'm sure I have the truth. All right, so do we really want to read any more of this drivel out of Quartz magazine? Because I know I don't. I will put the story about the age of bullshit underneath the archive, and you can read it if you really want to. But what it does is it makes me angry, and I can't spend a lot of time being angry anymore about any of this. So let them believe that. But now, let's look at some of how interesting is it, right? They're telling us that it's the age of bullshit. And it's all these sites that, you know, have clickbait and ads on them, i.e., anyone who's not mainstream. But let's all believe the mainstream bullshit that you're funneling out as legalized propaganda. Well, I saw 3 stories this past week that really caught my attention. So here we go. Let's step it up. So we've been getting a lot of attention about geoengineering, and the activists are pretty rabid. I mean, we know we have had that group around here. They're pretty dedicated, and they're out there always with signs or posting stuff or sending with that Skyder Alert app. They were sending photographs, and they're being published online. They're getting some attention because guess what? People see this and they go, yeah, what are all those weird lines all over the sky? Well, leave it to BBC. BBC science correspondent out of where? Oh, San Francisco. So it's within the United States. They've now come out with a new study. Jet traffic linked to the ice haze in the sky. Yeah, you know that ice haze, all of those little crisscrossy, weird-looking lines all over the sky that those lunatic tinfoil hat-wearing weirdos in the supermarket parking lot are asking you if you know what they are. Have you ever seen those before? Yeah, those ice, haze, jet traffic linked lines in the sky. Yeah. Planes may be making high-altitude icy haze that brightens the U.S. skies, according to a group of scientists. They have been looking for a reason why the total amount of solar radiation reaching the surface has increased over time. And now scientist studies are suggesting that part of the story is that jet exhausts could be generating a layer of ice crystals that promotes a more diffuse type of light. And this is giving clear blue skies a more of a whitish tint. Oh, wait. What? It's jets doing ice trails now that are making the sky all white that people have been asking about? Oh, I guess so. Scientists have been discussing their thinkings at the American Geophysical Union meeting in San Francisco. Chuck Long from the U.S. National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, more commonly known as NOAA. Wait, weren't those one of the people that just had some sort of federal shut-up order put on them? Or was that the National Weather Service, I believe? But I'm sure NOAA can't talk either. But good old Chuck Long came out and said that if his thinking is correct, then what is occurring is an example of, quote-unquote, accidental Geoengineering. Hey, we can't cover it up any longer, but guess what? We did it by accident. Yes, it's not a government conspiracy. No, we did it by accident. He continues, if you look up the definition of geoengineering, it includes large-scale manipulation of parts of the climate system or the environment, and I believe that this ice haze from jet traffic does satisfy that requirement, he told reporters. Oh, accidental geoengineering. Yeah, that's what it's called. Can you believe this? I mean, the bullshit, that story about bullshit on the internet is absolutely right, except they're looking at the wrong bullshit. All right, here, I dropped that. This, again, will be in the description of the show. I put that into chat if you want to read the rest of it, but let's continue, because I have more bullshit. So we've had all this climate change stuff and talking about food and the UN wanting us to eat bugs because it's more sustainable. And, oh, my God, mealyworms. There's a little mealyworm farm now that you can have. So you can grow your protein on your countertop. And, ooh, they're crunchy with salad, like the video showed. We watched that. And we can't have meat anymore. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger came out a week ago and said, you can't have cows because they produce too much methane. We should eat vegetables. Yes, he did. They're pushing that agenda. And remember, meat's all poison now anyway. It gives you cancer, so it's all for your own good. You don't want to tax our new e-medicine precision healthcare system. You want to eat what we tell you to eat, and you don't need to know where it comes from. But now we add more bullshit because, hey, so all those people who decided, there were even some people within the alternative media that I heard say, oh, Tam, I can't eat bacon anymore. Oh, I'm going to have to become a vegetarian. Well, guess what? They didn't think about that one, so now they got to fix that. Lettuce now produces, and this is out of Scientific American, guys, just from the other day. Lettuce now produces more greenhouse gas emissions than what? Oh, bacon. Yes, guys, lettuce. Lettuce is going to destroy the environment. A vegetarian diet does not necessarily have a low impact on the environment. Bullshit, I say. Bacon lovers of the world rejoice, except for the ones who are going to get cancer, per the UN. Or at least take solace that your pork belly may be better for the environment in terms of greenhouse gas emissions than the lettuce that accompanies it on the classic BLT. According to this new study by researchers at Carnegie Mellon, oh, I am so glad that Carnegie Mellon is researching how much carbon footprint a fucking slice of lettuce has on my BLT. Yes, Carnegie Mellon researchers found that if Americans were to switch their diets to fall in line with the Agriculture Department's 2010 dietary regulations, it would actually result in a 38% increase in energy use, a 10% bump in water use, and 6% increase in greenhouse gas emissions. Whoops. So guess what? The Agriculture Department's 2010 dietary recommendations are probably going to have to be updated now, aren't they? And I bet you they're going to include some sort of quote-unquote alternative proteins. Yes, we'll have to come up with a new food pyramid, too, in the shape of a cockroach or a cricket. Anyway, back to the story. The reason for this 38% increase in energy use, the 10% bump in water use, and the 6% increase in greenhouse gas emission is because on a per-calorie basis, many fruits, vegetables, dairy, and seafood, the foods the USDA pushes in the guidelines over sugary processed foods and fats, are relatively resource intensive, one study finds. Lettuce, for example, produces 3 times more greenhouse gas emission than bacon. I mean, are they working on, and this makes me wonder, are they working on some little calculator now? Watch, you're going to see a smart app come out here very soon since that COP21 is over. And I know everyone calls it COP21, but it's an acronym. Now that that's over, to make us all more ecologically conscious, where we can go to the grocery store and it doesn't tell you whether or not that food's GMO, no, or the country of origin, no. It tells you the carbon footprint so you can make your decisions to eat more responsibly and not destroy it for future generations. I'll bet you someone's working on that. Because why else would they be doing studies to find out how many times more greenhouse gases lettuce produces than bacon? Like, who gives a shit? I know I don't. So many more ways, like, I don't know, the factories, and I don't know, how about we move to something other than oil? Rather than you messing with the milk in my coffee and the bacon and lettuce on my freaking BLT. Give me a break. Says you cannot just jump and assume that any vegetarian diet's going to have a low impact on the internet. No, none of this stuff does. And so we got to teach you the new ways to eat for the new 21st century. Wasn't that Codex Alimentarius? Maybe that's how they're going to do it. I don't know. Do we care anymore about this? And we can go on and on and on. Here, what's this lacto-ovo vegetarian diet? Like, what the hell is that? Martin Heller, a research specialist with the Center for Sustainable Systems at the University of Michigan, and a colleague, published a similar analysis last year. If Americans shifted to the following Agriculture Department's dietary guidelines, they would consume less meat, which is good for emissions, but they would drink more milk, which is bad for the emissions, the study found. Switching to a lacto-ovo vegetarian diet would result in a 33% decrease in emissions, and vegan diets are 53% more efficient. The paper did a good job of estimating Americans' daily caloric intake and expanded on its work by quantifying the energy and the water impacts of each food. I mean, you guys can see exactly where this is going here. Let's see. There's one more thing that's talking about the USDA 2015 dietary guidelines. To preserve both the Earth's health and your own, Heller suggests cutting out meat. Ding, 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 ding. Again. I can't believe they're really going to push this, guys. It's coming. The meat will be gone. 3D printed bug protein will be it in the shape of Disney characters. In this new analysis, beef was 3.5 times more environmentally intensive than pork. And a 2014 Chatham House report found that greenhouse gas emissions from livestock was estimated to account for more than 14.5% of the global total, which is more than direct emissions from the transport sector. Researchers said the takeaway from the analysis is that policymakers need to take a closer look at foods on an individual basis, ding ding, especially as the USDA prepares to release, you knew this was coming, its 2015 dietary guidelines, expected in a matter of days. So guys, put on a seatbelt. This story was from December 15th. Today is December 18th. So let's keep an eye out for that, because I am afraid of what we're going to see. These recommendations will guide food purchasing for the federal school lunch program. Yes, the reason why you always pack your kids' lunch, as well as for the basis for the federal nutrition policy for the next 5 years. All right, before we run out of time, I'll put the rest of that story also into the description under the show. And again, I will be lovely and drop it into chat. All right. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all this stuff. Maybe this next thing will just be for the show on Monday. But I have one more piece of bullshit propaganda. So we have one about chemtrails. as we're talking about the Google Truth algorithm, we have now a hit piece on not only eating meat, but eating vegetables as well and how they're bad for the environment. And now we have the hit piece on anti-GMO people. Yes, yes, yes. The title of this story is I Feed My Kids Genetically Modified Foods and Not Organics. And that does not make me a bad mom. Now let's read a little bit of this. This woman says, I could certainly afford to pay up to 50% more for organic foods for my children to eat. Love the way they start that out. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, the price of organics have come down quite a bit now that there's such a huge audience for them. But hey, don't worry about it because Russia said that they will produce the organics for the world if they're going to produce GMOs everywhere else. But the way she starts it out is so negative. I could certainly afford to pay up to the 50% more for organic foods for my children to eat, but I refuse to. Why? Because I'm a selfish bitch. And you know what? I'm going to give that food to my kids. And if we find out 20 years from now they got an arm growing out of their head or they're autistic banging their head into a wall, then oh well. Too bad. I didn't care about my children that much anyway. I mean, honestly, did she just say that? I refuse to. She says, I decline to pay the premium for organic foods because I cannot justify it when comparable to conventional foods, including those with GMOs that are just as healthy and nutritious and arguably what? Oh, more environmentally friendly? Okay, lady, you have a screw loose. According to many of my colleagues in this business of motherhood, yeah, that's the group that you should believe for your research, honey. Not feeding my children organic food makes me an ill-suited to be a mom. Now, actually, I'll take that back. Because apparently her other mothers are saying that she should look into it. And she says, I'm too stupid. She's got this very vacuous look in her smiling, idiot-looking picture. So the other mothers are going, hey, maybe you should be protecting your children better by not feeding them garbage and processed food. And you're going, hey, I'm too busy and self-involved in myself to even worry about what I give my kids. Look, they told me on TV it was good. She says, I've actually had a mother, an irresponsible mother. What? Oh, I've actually been called a bad mother, an irresponsible mother, and downright lazy for wanting to feed my children an apple. What? An apple that doesn't brown when you cut it. Yes, ding. The new genetically modified Arctic apple that is expected to be approved. And this was written before the apple was approved. I didn't realize that what I chose to feed my kids affected so many other people, in turn giving them the right to label me a bad mom. I wish these moms would recognize that we are just so lucky to have the chance in what food we feed our families, or the choice, in what food we feed our families, and that so many other unfortunate people in the world don't have that choice. I mean, come on, honey. She's just trying to make herself feel better that she's feeding her kids poisoned food, but she must have gotten paid by Monsanto or someone to write such fucking drivel. Then she continues, and this is what we found in our research. Hey, we have all been eating these alleged quote-unquote poisonous GMOs for almost 20 years. Yeah, we have been, we discovered. Yet within the last few years, it seems that a lot of people, and mostly moms and women, are suddenly panicked about them. You want to know why, honey? Because of all of these diseases and autoimmunes and problems and digestive problems and inflammatory issues that can all be traced back to them. And if not the GMOs, then the pesticides that were sprayed on the GMOs. that they weren't affected by because they were spliced with the anti-pesticide genes. There have been a few petitions circulating that have increased the paranoia regarding GMOs and conventional agriculture, and one petition calls for the removal of GMOs from baby formula, and another is to stop the use of pesticides in conventional dairy products. A campaign that was started by Stonyfield, an organic yogurt company. To me, that petition is particularly absurd, as its goal is just to sell Stony Brook organic products by throwing their competitors under the bus. Even though, she says, it doesn't take much Google searching to find out that organic farmers use pesticides too. What? Oh, guys, we are doomed. We are doomed. We are doomed. Here's my thing. The people who are dumb enough to believe that it's all being done for their benefit and all this stuff is absolutely safe and that you should feed your children without even questioning it deserves whatever happens. I mean, they have been, what did Devo call it? Devolution. They've been devolved. Oh, well, I guess I'm not even going to be able to get to the story by Thomas Insel. I think tomorrow we're going to kick it off about the new algorithm that can tell you how memorable or forgettable your selfies are. And then we'll look at some wearables and them with your biosensing. And then we'll get into Tom Insel with his new smartphone diagnostics mental health disease app. All right, guys. Well, guess what? It is Friday. It's been a long week. I'm sure it's been for everybody. The holidays are coming, and I know it's exhausting. So everybody have an awesome Friday. Make sure you stick around. There's lots of great radio all throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I cut them all, so they're all ready and waiting. Make sure you do something fun tonight. Relax, and remember, people, it's all propaganda. All right, you guys have an awesome Friday, and